That is a series victory for the Detroit Tigers over one of the best teams in all of baseball. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Thursday. The Tigers have an off day today. However, we are here to discuss the series victory over the San Diego Padres after the Tigers won 6-0 in very convincing fashion over said Padres, the now 17-8 San Diego Padres on Wednesday afternoon. The Tigers are now 15-10. My first thought in this ball game after the final out was made was just, I was fired the heck up, man. That bang, 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 bang. This was absolutely awesome. As I've already said 15 times, and we're only 2 minutes into the show, that is a series win over one of the best teams in baseball. I really wanted the REESE Olson complete game, but I'll take the shutty. All right, I'll take a shutout. I'm not too picky, you know. I'm pretty low maintenance. That is in a 3-game set. The Tigers outscored the Padres 12-6 and took 2 of 3. Much needed off day today as you listen to this on Thursday. This is now since the All-Star break last year, the Detroit Tigers have one of the best records in all of baseball. And we are now a little bit over a month into this season. And we are seeing what happens when you marry an incredible pitching staff with some run support. And I think that over 162, there's still some concerns about the legitimacy of the offense and how much run support they're going to be able to give this pitching staff. I don't think there's any questions about the pitching. This is one of, if not the best rotations in baseball, and it's one of, if not the best bullpen in baseball. And that is absolutely awesome. So what went right? We don't need to bury the lead here. REESE Olson was the shining star of this ball game. He goes 7 1/3, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts with 17 swings and misses, 17 whiffs in this game. His ERA is now 3.29, and it's comfortably the highest in the rotation. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's focus on REESE. 85 pitches for that 7 1/3. This was pure and utter domination. A masterclass on how to utilize REESE Olson's stuff specifically. Changeup in this game, 9 whiffs. He was throwing it righty, man. Like that is, and he always has. That's not like a new thing, but that is the ultimate sign of this thing is unhittable. I'm just going to throw this up here. We're going to go righty changeup to one of the better lineups in baseball and blank them. The 9 whiffs on the changeup, to put into context, that gives it a whiff rate, a swing and miss rate, over 50%. If you just take the amount of times the changeup was swung at and how many swings and misses it had, over 50%. But that doesn't even come close to the slider in this game that had 8 whiffs on 11 swings. That is like hilarious. That's like borderline comedy at that point. Well into the 70s in terms of percentage of whiffs on that pitch. The called strikes plus whiffs percentage, one of our favorite stats here, CSW percentage, so just the amount, the percent of whether it's a called strike or a whiff. So any strike that's not a foul ball essentially was 57%. So of all the sliders he threw in this game, 57% of them were non-foul ball strikes. That is unbelievable for a non-fastball. Really for a fastball too these days. And why I am so passionate about this outing specifically is because it is the perfect utilization of what he is good at and what his strengths and weaknesses are. The fastball did not get a single swing and miss this entire game, and yet it was complete domination. And that's because every fastball he threw was either a ground ball or a weak flyout that the hitter was late on. That is exactly what he needs to be doing on a consistent basis, and it's exactly what he did. Sinker, low and in, even belt high in to righties, sawing them off at the hands, and to lefties, he elevates the fastball and goes up and away and gets them to swing under it because they have to respect changeup and even slider. He'll throw the slider to righty-lefty. He'll throw the changeup to righty-lefty. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. That is REESE Olson at his best. Fastball's weak contact. Secondary gets a ton of swing and miss. Absolutely masterful. The perfect blend. I think he could have got a complete game in this outing if it wasn't for the second hit in the 8th inning, right? And that's kind of like Captain Obvious, no dust statement, but like if he just avoids that, because that was a ground ball. It was just the infield was shifted in a way in which it squirted out into right field. If he is just able to, if Glaber's playing a little bit more to the right there, I think maybe 85 pitches, man. Incredible. And then he turns it over to the bullpen. Tommy Kahnle, 2/3 of an inning of perfect baseball. His ERA on the season is 0.96. Will Vest, 1 inning pitched of perfect baseball with 2 strikeouts. His ERA on the season is 0.84. So just for context, that is what the Padres saw in this finale. They saw REESE Olson, who has elite stuff and now has an ERA that's sub 3.3, and 2 relievers with ERAs that start with the number 0. And that is not an anomaly just for the Padres. Again, Olson has the highest ERA at 3.29 in the entire rotation, and the bullpen is full of ERAs that look like Vest and Kahnle. So you have that, and on top of that, the Tigers put up 6 runs, and 5 of them were off of a team up to this point that's had one of the best bullpen performances in all of baseball in the San Diego Padres. Let's talk about those offensive standouts, and then we'll talk about what went wrong. Not a whole lot. And then we'll talk stuff, okay? We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire's TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. You just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premier titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds that you need to stay competitive. And with 4K streaming, you can watch over 1.5 million movies and TV shows as well from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. So head to Amazon.com/FireTV Lockdown, all one word, to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd Gen, Fire TV 4K Max, 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow. An off day episode. Haven't done one of those in a while. We'll kind of do just an update on everything happening within the organization, talk about some injury, recovery timelines. We'll talk about where the team is at a little over a month in the season. We'll talk some minor league baseball as well. Talk about where some of the players down in the farm system currently stand too. So and then we'll obviously preview the weekend against the Orioles. On top of that, today though, we talk about the 6-0 victory over the San Diego Padres. Let's start with Justyn-Henry Malloy, who went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, including a big home run in this game. That was a hanger. Okay, I'm so glad that he was able to drive that baseball. That was a slider, literally right down the middle, and he deposited it into the bullpen in left field. Been seeing an uptick in numbers a little bit lately. They kind of died down well below 200 average and whatnot for a while there. Now he's back to a 208 average. Obviously, you want to see that higher, but an OPS of around 700 now. And it's a very small sample. I'm not trying to say that number means a whole heck of a lot, but he works counts, he draws walks. And if he can be a consistent power option, even if it is just against lefties, then we will gladly take that. And I don't even remember. His home run might have been off a righty. Either way, he got the start and was leadoff in this game because there was a lefty starting on the mound. And so whatever his role is going to end up being, that's fine. He just needs to consistently provide whatever that is. And if that's just walks and some power against left-handed pitching, then so be it. There's a spot for that in this organization and on this team. Gleyber Torres, 1 for 4 with a home run. Beautiful. Right after I, dog him for not having any power so far since becoming a Detroit Tiger, he goes yard. That is beautiful. We absolutely love that. The thing that really stood out to me with the home run was if you look at his last 10 plate appearances, you're going to see a theme, and that is that there's a lot of high fastballs. Man, clearly, this is in the scouting report that's going around baseball, is that this dude does not catch up to or does not square up or gets under, whatever it is. High fastballs really consistently because he's been thrown a lot of them. And in this, for that home run, he was thrown a 93, 94 mile an hour fastball at the top of the zone, and he turned on it. And that was awesome to see. Hopefully that'll cause the opponents to have to adjust again, or maybe he's made an adjustment and he can start hitting those and driving those a little bit more consistently now. Really nice to see. Very good swing on that ball. Good at bats all game, as he always does, hitting 283 on the young season. Riley Greene, 2 for 4 with a clutch RBI hit as well. We will gladly take that. Beautiful to see. Just a nice piece of hitting, inside out swing. Opens up a little bit, but is able to get inside that ball and take it the other way like he's able to do so easily and so well. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And hopefully now that is a sign of things to come, and we can put this kind of slump and rough last couple of weeks behind Riley Greene. Andy freaking Ibanez, man. This guy just lives for left-handed pitching. He lives for it. 2 for 3 in this game. Last weekend went up against the lefty. I forget who that was specifically, but had a homer. That was, I'm talking about the Royals series last weekend. But he just, after a little bit of a slower start to the year, is now right back to, his numbers against lefties look pretty darn good. And I think they just kind of always will until he, I don't know, until proven otherwise, I guess, over a really long period of time. So beautiful to see him producing in the middle of the lineup, as always. Dylan Dingler with a tank at the end of this game. Beautiful to see. I feel like I've said beautiful about 50 times. I'm sorry. He is now hitting 277 with a 780 OPS after this ball game. Awesome. Awesome. It's about time this team gets some consistent offensive production from the catcher position. Hopefully that's something that he can sustain going forward and throughout the rest of the season and throughout the rest of his career, because it goes a long way, and he's not a slouch defensively either. steering away from the offense a little bit. I mean, if we want to put a bow on it, like Zach McKinstry, actually, let's talk about that really quick. Then we'll go into Javy in center field. Zach McKinstry, I mean, goes 1 for 4 in this ball game. Does have a run scored. Is hitting .311 with an .875 OPS on the season. The thing that I think is the most telling part of this is actually nothing to do with him being in the field. I think the most telling part about this game is the fact that Zach McKinstry got a day off on Tuesday, a scheduled day off so that he could catch a breather, knowing that a lefty was starting on Wednesday. Do you know how mind-boggling that is? This is a guy who has not really hit anybody too terribly well over the last couple of years, outside of a couple hot stretches, but certainly has not been getting opportunities against left-handed pitching. He's hitting so well this year that they had a scheduled off day the day before the Tigers faced a starting left-handed pitcher. And when it was a starting left-handed pitcher, they threw him back out there, gave him the start, and he hit, 6th in the lineup? Like, it's not like he was just slid in there in the 9 spot to hide him either. That's very, very telling to me. Zach McKinstry, thought of in pretty high regard at this point in the season after a fantastic start to the year. Do want to talk about the defense. Javy Baez in center field. He finally gets challenged a little bit and makes an absolutely phenomenal play in dead center. It's one of those things. I mean, he's hitting 258 with an OPS barely over 600. Like, he's the power is gone. He's never going to draw a lot of walks. He's putting the ball in play for weak contact. That's pretty much where he's at offensively. And he's providing more value than we've seen from him in a while, despite all of those things. And part of that is to do with the versatility defensively. This is a guy who, like, I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking, well, Javy's not, certainly going to be a world beater here in terms of offense, but I would have made this switch to put, if he looks like this in center on a consistent basis, we should have done this weeks ago. We should have optioned Kreidler and have Javy just be the center fielder until one of the real center fielders is healthy again. We should have done that in March. We should have done that on opening day and just avoided having the automatic out there at the bottom of the lineup over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Incredible play by Javy. Incredible play. Awesome to see. Who else? Trey Sweeney with a hit. Torkelson goes over, but does still draw a walk. Everybody in the lineup except for Javy got on base at least once. This was divide and conquer, truly a team performance, and they applied pressure the entire ball game. Let's talk about what went wrong. There is only one thing I want to highlight. One, okay? And I don't want this to get misconstrued as me being like a negative Nelly in a win. This is beautiful. I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely over the moon. Okay, nothing can take this happiness away from me that I am experiencing after this series win and after this dominant win, especially. Okay, if there is anything for the sake of filling a segment and actually doing what we say we're going to do on this show, that we can put in the side of things that went wrong, it is hits with runners in scoring position. The Tigers go 1 for 8 with RISP in this game. And the only reason I bring it up, aside from just the fact that that's an ugly stat, is the fact that this game should have been put away in like the 2nd inning. And they ended up tagging the bullpen at the end of the outing, right? As we talked about, they scored 2 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th. So they end up pulling away. And no one's the wiser when you just look at the box score, right? But it was a 2-0 game. It was still close until the bottom of the 7th there. And it shouldn't have been. The Tigers had bases loaded, 1 out in the 1st inning and didn't score anybody. They didn't score a single one of those runners. The only runner that scored in the 1st inning was Gleyber Torres' solo homer. They went 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position in the first inning alone. And again, they tacked on runs late. This is one of the better bullpens in baseball they went up against. That's awesome. That's fantastic. This is a massive, massive win, and I'm thrilled. Okay. But this game should have been 6-0, like 2 innings in, rather than 8 innings in. They left some runs on the table, and especially against a team that has good pitching and started a weaker starting pitcher in that organization, relatively speaking. You know, a guy that has an ERA over 6. I think they probably want to have some of those at-bats back, and I think a lot of us were kind of holding our breath that, they might regret that a little bit later in the game. They didn't, and REESE Olson is a king, but I think it's worth bringing up. Let's talk stuff, okay? We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live, the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, or the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and Tigers games are officially back. The boys of summer are back. We're a little over a month into the season, and you can count on Game Time to help grab your tickets to meet your needs. I recently grabbed last-minute tickets for a game, and Game Time had unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merchandise for me. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, let's talk stuff in this game. Really, not a lot that went wrong. Not much, not a very long segment, and that means for a beautiful day. I said beautiful again. Can I think of a different descriptor? That is an awesome day, an incredible day, a wonderful life. Okay, good. There got some other words out there. Series win against San Diego, big deal. Talked about it a billion times. This is something that I think you look over kind of the current standings of Major League Baseball, and you notice that the Tigers are right in the thick of things at the top of not only the American League Central, but the entire American League. And really outside of maybe the NL West, I guess. Outside of that, maybe you can kind of just say in all of baseball, man. This Tigers bullpen has not given up a single run in almost a week. The next time they play, because they have an off day on Thursday, the last earned run the Tigers bullpen gave up was Kenta Maeda last Friday. They don't play another game until Friday, so it will have been at least a week without giving up an earned run for your Tigers bullpen. And again, looking at the standings, we zoom out a little bit, okay? 15-10, that is first place in the American League Central. That is tied for the best record in the American League. That is a plus 30 run differential, which is second in the American League and fifth in Major League Baseball. They have 82 runs against on the year as a pitching staff. That is the second fewest in the American League and the fourth fewest in all of baseball. 112 runs scored this year is third in the American League. They are 10-3 at home, which is tied for the best home record in the American League. And they are 7-8 against teams that have a better than 500 record on the season at the time that the Tigers play them. That is, well, the best record in the American League for record versus teams that are over 500 is 9-8. So right in the mix of all of the competitive teams at the top in that regard as well. When talking about this team and the expectations for them going into the year. We said at the beginning of the season that the Tigers' first month to month and a half was extremely difficult, and they played a lot of really good teams back to back to back to back. And it was going to be really difficult to navigate. Something that I have said all the time on this show, and I yell at Brian all the time on Locked On Wings, is that good teams don't schedule watch. Are you schedule watching right now? No. I don't see that among the fan base. Now, obviously, you're watching in the sense of like, I want to know who we play next. But I can remember even last year, nonetheless, over the last 4 years, us looking at the start of every month and going, okay, where do we find wins? Where do maybe we're going to get some losses here? If we drop this series, okay. There's none of that. There's a confidence throughout this organization and this fan base right now. Good teams don't do that. You think the Dodgers are looking, going, oh, well, we can afford to drop a couple of games here. No, they go out and they beat the team across from them. And AJ Hinch has this team prepared to go to battle every single time they step on the field. They're also doing this without a ton of key players and with Riley Greene struggling and a really hard schedule. They might just be good, everybody. They might just be a really good baseball team. And this is carried over from the trade deadline of last year, or the All-Star break of last year, whatever point you want to use, the point is the same. The Tigers have one of the best records in all of baseball from starting in the second half of last season, carried over now into this season. They're one of the best teams in the league since that starting point. And again, that's really hard schedule, a ton of injuries, and people coming back very soon. They might just be good. They might. You got Baltimore this weekend. Baltimore's off to a little bit of a slower start. They're just complete glass cannon. We'll preview this team more tomorrow. This is a really good offense, and they just have a dreadful pitching staff. 9-13 on the year. The Orioles haven't announced who their starting pitchers are going to be yet at the time of this recording, but the Tigers will go Mize game 1, Job game 2, and my favorite thing to hear in all of sports, Tarek Skubal for the series finale in game 3. Takes so much pressure off of everybody else. Okay, you just kind of got to split one of the first 2 games and you're kind of chilling. It's another opportunity this weekend. They might just be good. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow for an off-day episode and previewing the weekend ahead against the Baltimore Orioles a little bit more in depth. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.